Yet talking books also raised profound questions about the nature of reading. The most intractable concerned the relationship between speech and print, or, in Irwin's words, whether a book is still a book when it is printed on phonograph records. Although Irwin's inquiry was primarily a legal one, we might take it as a philosophical one too, since the talking book's standing has been in dispute ever since sound recording technology enabled books to speak for themselves. Was a talking book still a book? The AFB confused matters further by introducing the talking book as both an exact replica of the printed book and an improved version of it. A demonstration titled "What is the Talking Book?" explained that it was a set of long-playing records on which one could hear a book read aloud, and a promotional record announced, "I am a book whose contents are like those of any other book," before reciting excerpts from the Bible, Shakespeare, and Dickens. Press coverage defined the format in contradictory ways too. Some publications described the talking book as an exact counterpart of the printed book because the narrative was read verbatim. Others considered talking book a misnomer, since it neither was a book nor talked. Similar confusion surrounded the issue of reading. Was the talking book a way of reading to blind people or a way of reading for blind people? Blind people themselves described listening to talking books as reading, not hearing, since to do otherwise would acknowledge that they were not reading in the same sense as other people. Georgina Clegg describes this distinction as a stigma still faced by blind people today. In fact, it may be useful to think of the talking book as a prosthesis rather than a substitute for print, since most blind readers had no choice in the matter. According to this way of thinking, the phonograph enabled blind people to read by acting as a surrogate means of vision. One AFB pamphlet asked its recipients, "Will you not do your part to enable the talking book to serve as eyes, as far as reading is concerned, by providing one or more machines to the blind in your community?" Debates over aesthetic preferences were irrelevant to a group that was unable to read in any other way. Only a small percentage of blind people could read Braille, and volunteer readers were scarce. For the average blind person, talking books meant the difference between reading and not reading at all. While it's important to think about the talking book in relation to its print predecessors, we should also try to understand the format in its own terms. The talking book only exists because a group of people had no access to books at the beginning of the 20th century. Media historians have long recognized the link between disability and invention. The book was simply inadequate when it came to meeting the needs of people with disabilities. The obvious solution was to adapt the book into alternative formats suitable for these readers. As Mara Mills has argued, media exclusions thus necessitate technological adaptations. The talking book's development thereby challenged conventional notions of the book as a medium exclusively reserved for print, and of reading as an activity performed with the eyes instead of a multitude of senses. This chapter addresses the vexed relationship between orality and print by taking us back to the talking book's origins. Existing accounts of the talking book document its technological, legislative, or institutional history. By contrast, my account recuperates sound technology's social impact by tracing how the first generation to hear books mechanically read aloud encountered, responded to, and shaped the medium in crucial ways. Lisa Gittleman's work on the history of sound recording underscores how new media and their audiences evolve in relation to one another. With this reciprocity in mind, I have sought to recover the voices of the first people to hear talking books in order to better understand the relationship between blindness, literacy, and technology. The talking book service is commonly held up as a triumphant example of technology's capacity to overcome disability. The real story is more complex. The events documented in the following pages remind us of how much resistance advocacy groups encountered and continue to encounter while attempting to persuade people of the need, value, and legitimacy of alternatives to printed books. Hence, my account begins with the group